good.
But now we're going to get live. It's officially the time I said I would start. I don't want to start late, so people will just have to stream in. Of course, this is the hype on this show. This is the 7th official episode I interview. Well, so far I've just interviewed like pro players on North American teams. So I've interviewed your teammate, Sean Gares. That was my first episode. Then I've also interviewed Adrin, Nothing, another one of your teammates. And so I've kind of gone that direction. And in the future, I'll also interview other prominent community members. Like I want to have Sir Scoots on here at some point. Just other, North American stuff, and I maybe expand to Europe later. So if you never watched this show before, what I do is I just try to gain insight that you wouldn't normally get maybe unless you follow Hiko's stream, which he answers like every single question that comes his way on there. So if you've ever been on that stream, you've probably already got a lot of your questions answered. But there's obviously a lot that happened here recently, and we are going to talk about that. But when I first planned this interview, I had no idea that was going to happen, and so I already had some things I wanted to talk about that's unrelated to the most recent news with the roster and stuff like that. So I will get to that, but give me a few minutes to kind of get some background information and talk a little bit about some other things that I was planning on talking about that I think you'll still really enjoy. So first of all, Hiko, I don't think you need much of an introduction, but do you want to just do like a brief introduction of yourself before we get to the questions?
Sure. My name's Hiko. Real name is Spencer. I live in Michigan. I'm on Complexity Gaming. Been around the CSGO scene pretty much since day one. Yeah, that's good enough.
All right. So basically, I guess where you got your start in Counter-Strike was obviously 1.6, like pretty much all your other teammates. Though I guess your big break in 1.6 didn't really come until you started playing with Check 6 towards the end of North American 1.6. And which you did play with some really prominent names when you played on that team. If I'm not mistaken, that's when you were playing with like Fraud and Storm and a couple other guys that were really prominent at the time. So what can you just maybe briefly tell us about how you got into Counter-Strike and just kind of setting up for your transition to CSGO later?
Okay. I started playing Counter-Strike in early 1.3 days. I started off in games like Diablo, StarCraft. I think those were my two big ones. One of my school friends at the time kind of introduced me to Counter-Strike. That's when, obviously, when Counter-Strike was still on a CD, you had to buy it from a store. And I installed it. I remember I loved it from the very first time I played it. From there on out, I just played it all the time. Dropped Diablo, dropped StarCraft 2, went full-time Counter-Strike. And yeah, I mean, Counter-Strike is a fun game. And back then, I didn't really play that many first-person shooters, so it really got me hooked, and it really got me into the whole scene. And obviously I pubbed around for a while, and I didn't really play competitively until probably 1.5. And the very first time I saw like big games and big competitive actual matches like 3D Complexity back then, where it's like, wow, there's a ton of, there's what, 50,000 people watching at some CPL. I don't know the exact number, it's been a long time, but the first time I saw that, I'm like, wow, this is something that I really want to do. This is something that I really want to actually strive to actually accomplish from playing the game. So it's always been kind of a goal of mine to be at the top and be able to travel to tournaments, travel internationally, international recognition. And I think so far it's been pretty successful.
So when you transferred from 1.6 to Go, everybody kind of made this slow transition where they were still kind of competing in both games. But I guess you actually kind of just made the straight transition. I don't think you kind of held on to 1.6 like some of the other players did, like Nothing, for example, and such. So how did this Area 51 team come about? Because that's, where you met up with Dazed and, of course, Sean Gares and TCK, and I think originally Pinecone, who got replaced later. So how did you meet? Like, what made you decide to meet up with a Source player to make a Go team, and then how did that whole process kind of go that way?
Well, switching to CSGO, I actually have to give GB James credit. He actually told me, like, listen, 1.6 is going to die, CSGO is going to be the future, you need to switch now. And I kind of shrugged him off. I kind of was like, yeah, whatever. This old senile man is telling me to switch to Go. and I don't really believe him. But I took his advice and I did switch really early. Um, and we played that first season. Our five was, the very first season of ESEA CSGO, which is when the CSGO was still in beta. It was me, Mo, James, Pinecone, Dazed. So that's where I first got met Dazed. I met Dazed through GB James. We won that first season of CSGO in ESEA. And then after that, we were looking, that was when, like, we knew in the future that PAX qualifier for ESWC was coming. So it was kind of like a group decision by me and Daze to... Mo wanted to quit, so we got rid of Mo. Daze wasn't that fond of James, so we got rid of James. We kept Pinecone along, and then we were toying with getting some source players because that's what Daze wanted. And at that time, I didn't really have that many 1.6 friends. I was friends with Semphis, I was friends with Sean, but I wasn't really that close with them. I didn't really play with them. I played with Semphis a little bit in 1.6. Didn't really know Sean. And actually, at the time, before we were considering dropping Pinecone as well for Elian, who, if the team would have been Sean, Semphis, Elian, Dazed, and me, I mean, who knows what would have happened? But Elian wanted to quit, so we kept Pinecone, and then we got Dazed. Actually, Dazed didn't even want to give those guys a chance. I remember telling Dazed, like, listen, we have to play with them. I don't care if you think they're bad; they will be good. And well, I mean, look, turns out they were. So yeah, that's kind of how Area 51 was formed. We did end up using Pinecone over Elian because obviously Elian didn't want to play, and yeah, we went to that first ESWC qualifier. We won that qualifier, got to go to Paris, and went there as Area 51. And then after that, Area 51 kind of said they actually closed, or they didn't want to support us anymore. So yeah, that was the end of Area 51 at that time.
Which then obviously transitions to Quantic, which pretty much had the same roster as 51 for a good while. And you had that ESEA LAN where you guys beat Varia Games, and that was like a really big milestone in North American Counter-Strike. But then shortly afterwards, there was this split, obviously, between you and Semphis and Dazed. And I've already kind of talked about that, I think, with Sean. Apparently it just had to do with issues that Dazed and Semphis were having with one another, apparently. And obviously you and Semphis were buds, and you guys have been playing together and were very fond of each other and still are. And so you guys decided to stick together. And this is what eventually becomes Complexity, which is where you're at now pretty much, with the exception of some very recent changes we're about to talk about. Is there anything you want to add to that process? Was there any like pivotal moments or big memories that you have that you think the community should maybe know about, or do you just want to leave that behind?
I mean, once Dazed made the decision to get rid of Semphis, I mean, obviously I left with him. I was not going to allow that. And then one of the people that we actually wanted to play with at the time, the first person that came to our mind was Sean. So Sean wanted to play again. Sean was interested in playing. I think he played like a full season of ESEIM. And for all three of us at that time, we all wanted to play with Swag. So Swag was pretty much a shoo-in. I mean, we asked Swag, and Swag was 100% down. He missed the 1.6 days, so he wanted to play. And then obviously Jordan joined. And I guess that's really it. That's pretty much all the roster changes we've made up until this point.
Right, which we're about to get there, everybody. Yeah. I know that's what you're waiting for. I promise we're getting there. So if you just got here, you haven't missed the big juicy stuff, I guess. So basically, I just want to talk a little bit about your success with Complexity, though, with Swag, because I think it sets up for some of the questions I have later. So obviously, you guys placed top 4 at DreamHack Winter. That was another huge North American milestone because, yeah, I think you guys had placed 3rd like way in the past, but now we have more competitive teams and bigger tournaments, and this is a major, a lot of money on the line. So this was a really big milestone for you guys, DreamHack Winter. And now I realize that ESEA LAN was maybe, I guess, a step back, but I don't really think so because you still played really close games against Titan, like 16-14 losses, beat them on Inferno pretty badly. But then you guys obviously lost to iBUYPOWER and didn't even have a chance to like redeem yourselves. So going into Katowice, which I do want to talk a little bit about Katowice because that was the original plan on how this show is going to go, is discussing that event and the future of your team. Of course, now there's a different future we have to talk about, right? But how did ESEA LAN affect you guys going into Katowice? Did that take away any confidence? I mean, what did you learn from that event? What happened for you guys, so to speak?
Well, our preparation for that event was really, really bad. It was even worse than it was for Poland. I think we didn't play for like a week or two, and then we kind of showed up like 2 days before, and we were trying to piece together everything, and everything wasn't really working. So we kind of went into the ESEA pretty cold. Obviously, we were not happy losing in Texas. We really expected ourselves, and I think other people expected us to beat Titan as well. I think that was the first time Titan actually beat us in a BO3, at least me and Sempus, since the last ESWC, the very first one. So that was kind of a wake-up call for at least me and probably some of my teammates too. We wanted to play more, and we were not accepting losing to iBUYPOWER and Titan. So, like most people and most teams, people got really serious for a bit, and then obviously that fire burnt out after playing a lot in America for a while and having no tournaments other than Poland coming up is kind of a downer for some of my teammates and even me. And so, I mean, I think we learned a little bit about ourselves, like losing to iBUYPOWER and Titan at ESEA showed us a little bit more about how, okay, well, if our default doesn't work, what's going to be our backup plan? So we learned like small things from it. We didn't learn. I mean, obviously we started to play more after that. We went over everything everything that didn't work. We changed a bunch of stuff up, and we kind of went back to the drawing boards to make sure that doesn't happen again. And yeah, I mean, we used that in preparation for Poland. Obviously, we were under the impression we were going to be getting a boot camp for Poland, so we kind of didn't go that hard online. Then 2 weeks before, we were told we're not getting a boot camp. Then everyone's like, "Oh God, what's going to happen here? No boot camp. We're going to have to do as best we can online." We had a plan to do like a little online boot camp, but some people had tests, exams, Swag's internet went down for a week before the tournament. So yeah, I mean, only so much you can do when you're at home preparing for a big LAN, but yeah, that's pretty much everything that we got from ESEA.
Right. So the last thing I want to ask about ESEA LAN before I talk about Katowice and then we get into the topics everybody wants to hear about, I guess, is iBUYPOWER is obviously a rival, like in North America, and they probably still will be, I guess. What were your thoughts on that team? I mean, from talking to you in private, I'm not going to bring that stuff up, but it just seemed like you guys didn't really expect iBUYPOWER to do as well as they did. Didn't really expect them to be able to beat Titan in the grand finals. I don't think many people did. I think that anytime you're in a situation where a team is going to have to do 2 back-to-back best-of-3s, you never really expect them to get through that adversity. I've only really seen it once, like, happen before Go, and in Go it doesn't happen often either for that type of, like, comeback to occur. So, like, what were your thoughts on this team, like, as far as how you rank them, maybe skill-wise or talent-wise or potential-wise, going into that event and afterwards going into Katowice?
Well, I think one thing that people don't really know is I was under the impression, I am still under the impression that like that ESEA tournament was like kind of their sponsors riding on it. So I'm pretty sure their contract was just over or something, and they were like, that was like, if they didn't do good there, then they would have been dropped or something. So
very likely.
So I mean, I've heard, and my teammates have said that that was like a last-ditch effort. That was like a YOLO tournament for them. They didn't, they had nothing to lose. They played completely with no like stress. They had no pressure to do good because I mean, I guess you can say their sponsor was there, but it's not like they're a new sponsor. They're kind of ran the course of their sponsor. They didn't really have any kind of outside motivation to actually do better, other than obviously losing their sponsor, which at the time they probably didn't really care about. Now that's all speculation. That might not be true, but that's what my teammates seem to think, and that's what I seem to think. So I think seeing how those players played at DreamHack, how they played online, we weren't really really scared of them. We weren't prepared for them to actually put up a fight on LAN because they really never had before. I think that was the first time ever that Adren, Anger, and AZK has ever beat us in a best of three, being me, Sempus, and Sean. So that was definitely a wake up call. I mean, they definitely played really well that tournament. They beat iBUYPOWER.
Didn't they beat you at season 14 in a best of three in upper bracket?
I guess that's true. Yeah, that's when they had Mozbek, right?
Yeah, that's when they had Mozbek.
I mean, we played them again.
Yeah, and you want to beat them in the lower bracket final when it really
so
mattered. But...
I guess that was the first time they've ever eliminated us from a tournament. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, so I mean, we didn't really place them that high on the pedestal. I mean, they're obviously a very good team on the internet when they agree playing against us. When they agreed to play against us, and we didn't think that would correlate to LAN, and fortunately for them, it did. And they did beat us. So they were, and then obviously they went on to beat Titan in 2 best of threes back to back, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, they definitely played really well. And you're talking. What was your question? You asked, how would I have ranked them before
going
the tournament?
Katowice. Well, yeah, before the tournament and then going into Katowice.
I think before ESEA, I mean, people really only had to. They only had DreamHack to judge them on. They bombed in groups after having a week boot camp, after demolishing all the European teams for a week before the tournament. They failed at DreamHack, and then I think everybody kind of rated them pretty low. And then after ESEA, obviously they beat us. They beat Titan. I feel like I was reading a lot of the prediction threads and things on HLTV.org, and a lot of the Europeans are like, "Oh yeah, iBUYPOWER, best NA team, iBUYPOWER, top 8, 100%, no chance they're not making it out of groups."
Yep.
And then, boom.
This happens every single time, right? So fans have flip flopped between supporting you or iBUYPOWER more based on the most recent result that they've had. And I think that's kind of a trend. But what I want you to do is remember all of these comments, because we're going to come back to it in about 5 minutes, okay, about something. So I'm curious. So Katowice happens. You guys obviously did well. I mean, you guys got kind of smashed by LGB, I guess, but you beat Mystic twice. You got out of group. Of course, this always happens to you guys. You draw NiP first. It's like the 3rd tournament you've drawn NiP first in bracket play. And I think that if I were to speculate, had you have been able to dodge NiP and Virtus Pro, I think you would have made it to semis over like a Dignitas or a Fnatic or some of the other teams that were left in the field in a best of 3 based on how you played NiP in that quarter. So personally, this is my thought on your performance at Katowice. I think for what you guys were working with, you did really well, and it was just unfortunate you had to play NiP first, and you did take a map off them, and you actually made that set very interesting when it came to train. Some of your players that get called out for not fragging hard were playing lights out. Like Sean was playing lights out on train. I mean, it was getting kind of close. Maybe, like, I don't think you guys really had much practice on train to begin with, so if you would have had a little bit of prep, maybe things could have been different. That's one of NiP's best maps, too, so that made it even worse, but an uphill battle, but you still did really well. So is that fair to say that you guys probably had a similar mentality, or were y'all more disappointed, kind of like your ESEA LAN performance?
I think we were happy that, I mean, after that first map against NiP, where we won 16-14, that it came down to the very last round, we were all really pumped. We were all super excited going into Nuke. And Nuke is always, I don't know if you actually go back and look at our results on Nuke, at every single LAN tournament, minus the ESEA where we just kind of randomly beat NiP on Nuke, our Nuke has been our worst map forever.
Right. So
we were kind of confident going in, and then unfortunately we got ran over. And as you said on train, as another match, I mean, not being able to prepare for a week before a tournament, where usually that's when teams go hard, and that's when teams actually solidify a lot of their stuff. We went into the tournament with 2 maps that we had never played, Mirage and Train. So we decided to drop Mirage for every team. Train, we were just like, okay, well, we went over a few things, and it's like, well, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. And it ended up, it wasn't that bad. I mean, our CT, obviously our T side wasn't that bad. We took 6 rounds. And then our CT, everyone was playing, like, I was playing Inter for my first time. I don't think Swag and Jordan played Ivy together ever. So it's a bunch of just weird things on CT. And I think on our best day, we probably would have been able to beat Train with like proper preparation. But obviously it wasn't, and you can't go back and say, well, if this happened, maybe this. I mean, you never know. So I think we were ultimately pretty happy with how it went, but we were kind of disappointed ourselves that we didn't go farther. We all would have loved to at least go to the semifinals.
Right. Match your DreamHack winner performance.
Right. As you said, I think we agree. If you pulled any other team, I think we would have been prepared enough to beat any of the other teams that were in the semifinals, other than maybe Virtus Pro, who won the whole tournament.
Right, they were on fire.
So, yeah.
So, with that being said, last thought on Katowice, and then we're finally going to get to the juicy stuff here, is what was your reaction to iBUYPOWER's drop after what they did to Titan at ESEA LAN? You know, how did you feel about them once again dropping in groups? It seems like boot camps are their kryptonite, whereas boot camps help you guys. So it's almost like maybe boot camps are good for some teams because they help you. Maybe it's bad for other teams because they overthink things, or they practice the wrong way because things that are working in their scrims that normally shouldn't work are working. Then you try to take that to LAN, and now they're not working anymore. So, I mean, what were your thoughts on that whole deal?
Well, talking to iBUYPOWER, like we kind of hang. iBUYPOWER is in the same hotel as us. They were actually literally right across the hall. We were at the very end of the hall. We had one side, they had the other. We didn't talk to them that much at the hotel. Just a little fun fact. But talking to them before the tournament actually played, when we were actually at the venue watching all the other group stage matches being played, waiting for us for when we can play, they said that their boot camp they think was really successful. They said it wasn't like last time where they were just beating every team. They said they got beat by most teams this time, and it seemed like they were confident going into it. Now, again, nobody really knew what to expect. Nobody knows what to expect from really any team. Especially a team like iBUYPOWER, who has been known to have shaky LAN performance in the past, just came off of winning an ESEA, and now they had a weak boot camp. You would think they would do good, and then they didn't. So, I don't know. I think I expected them to move on. I expected them to move on past groups.
Yeah.
I mean, who did they lose to? They lost to Fnatic?
Fnatic, and they lost to Dignitas, I think?
Right. I see, and Dignitas is another team. I mean, Dignitas has failed against all the top teams, so I would think iBUYPOWER should have had the ability to beat Dignitas, but again, I mean, nobody really knew. So
yeah.
I expected them to do better, though. I think everybody did.
Yeah, I agree. So now let's get to the juicy stuff, right? The moment that everyone's been waiting for. So the strategy that I'm going to implement to approach this is, first I'm going to let you say whatever you want to say and whatever whenever you want to say, basically. And then after that, I'm going to try to tease more information out of you with specific questions that I think people would like to hear answers to if you can't answer those questions. I realize there might be some things you don't want to say, but I mean, I'm all for rustling jimmies on this show. I've done it in the past with Mo. He doesn't even talk to me anymore after that episode, so I'm whatever about it. But you might have your own reservations and stuff. So obviously, just to set it up, and then I'm just going to let you open the floor, is Swag obviously at some point, which you can describe this better, decided he wanted to leave your team and play with iBUYPOWER, which is now what's happened. And then you guys picked up Anger, so I guess it's like, in the eyes of the community, it's a trade, but like legally and contractually, I don't know what that actually happened, other than what's been released officially by both organizations. What the hell happened, man? You come off of Katowice, top 8 performance, DreamHack winner, top 4 performance. You guys are looking like the best North American team right now as far as LAN results go. Me and Lurpus agreed you guys were a top 8 team in the world. It seemed like you guys were climbing up the ranks. It was only a matter of time before maybe you broke through. What the hell happened, man? I'm just going to open the floor and just let you say what you want to say, and then I'll ask questions.
Well, I'll try. All right, I'll kind of tell the whole story.
Just the whole story.
The after story of Poland. So,
did anything happen in Poland?
No.
No. Okay.
Absolutely not. So, starting from the beginning, I guess, kind of the whole story.
Awesome. Popcorn.
I mean, losing after. Okay, so we lost in Poland. I mean, we lost to NiP. We get back to the hotel room. I mean, the the attitudes they aren't high, but they aren't low. They're just kind of normal. I mean, Brax and Jordan and Sean and Corey and me, we're all kind of like, we're not like crying in our hotel. We're not super sad. We're not super happy. We're just kind of neutral.
Okay.
Now, nobody really. I mean, I guess most of the story is going to be about Brax, so I'll kind of say my observations about Brax the whole time.
Whatever you want, just
okay.
go.
So I mean, Brax was normal. Nothing weird. Brax was acting his normal self. I mean, Brax is a very quiet and very self-spoken person, so nobody. I guess looking back at it, nobody would really know how he was feeling. Nobody really knew. So. I mean, kind of taking the story further, we get to the hotel. We go home, basically. We go home. Brax is still without internet. He's been without internet for a week before the tournament. He's still without internet until Monday, which was 2 days ago. I hear we get a message from a third party that I do not want to reveal, saying that Brax has been talking to iBUYPOWER, not wanting to actually play with us anymore. And we're like, wait, what? Brax doesn't want to play with us anymore? Like, what is that supposed to mean? Why does he not want to play with us? Nobody knows what that means.
Yeah, Brax is swag, by the way. Like, just to clarify, in case you were confused. Continue.
Yeah. So, okay. So, we hear that about Brax, and we're all like, wait, what? And then I guess Jordan tried talking to him, and Jordan found out that Brax is gone. Brax doesn't want to play anymore. So, I mean, nobody really knew what to think. I mean, even to this day, I know I personally have tried reaching out to Brax. I personally have tried to find out what's wrong, and he still won't talk to me. I personally still don't know what's going on inside Brax's head. I don't know why he doesn't want to play with us. I still don't know why. We tried to message him all weekend. We tried to message him, everybody of us. He wasn't even responding to Jordan sometimes, and him and Jordan are like the closest friends out of him and anybody.
Right.
So again, nobody saw this coming. Nobody had any idea he was not happy. Nobody had any idea he was going to leave, and we get a message all of a sudden saying, "Well, look, I'm leaving," and we heard it from somebody else. So. Like, nobody really knew what to think. I mean, at that point, we were trying to be like, okay, well, do we want to actually, try to make Brax try to play with us? Do we actually start looking for a new fifth? Like, what is our plan of action here? And we kind of just sat around for a few days being like, okay, well, what's going on? What's happening? We're trying to talk to Complexity. We're trying to talk to Brax. We're trying to talk to iBUYPOWER. We're trying to talk to Jordan to have talk to Brax. We're trying to call Brax. We're trying to message Brax, and there's just nothing's being done. So, at the end of the day, I guess iBUYPOWER and Complexity cut a deal where they swapped Brax out of our contract, and I think it was just announced that officially we picked up Anger. So that's kind of the trade that went down, and I mean that's pretty the whole story. I mean. He left, and nobody, to this day, I still don't even know why. He won't even respond. He won't even confront us, so I don't really know.
All right, so time to Russell Jimmy's with questions that you may or may not be able to answer, because I have some stuff that I heard through my third-party sources that I want you to comment on if you can.
Okay.
But my first question won't be too controversial. My first question will just be in relation to why Swag left. I just want to know, you say nothing happened in Poland. I heard that he was talking to Dazed at Poland. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe you can comment on that. But,
I guess.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, talking to Dazed, I mean, I guess, I don't think they were even on the same flight home. Brax, as I said, Brax is a very, very self-spoken individual. I don't really remember ever seeing Brax with Dazed. I guess maybe in the airport, but maybe it was even before Poland. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I really don't. But I didn't see him talk to Dazed, and I think Dazed was on Jordan's flight home, and Brax ended up missing his flight or something, so I don't think that Brax really talked to Dazed in Poland. Now, if there was talks, before Poland about how, we weren't going to do well or something like that, and then, we played in Poland, we didn't place top 4, and then Dave's like, oh, look what happened. Well, maybe that's what happened. I don't really know. I really don't. I mean, I wish I did. I wish Brax would actually confront us and actually just tell us straight up, why he left, what his thoughts are. Maybe we could have worked it out, but instead he just took it into his own hands and just left straight out. So again, I don't really know what to think, and I don't really know why he did it.
Is it not possible that he talked to Days, though, and you weren't paying attention at Poland, like at the hotel maybe, or after matches at the venue? Or because it just seems really sudden, right, that he would just leave the team and not have any prior contact with iBUYPOWER to discuss this idea. It seems like there had to be some type of premeditated conversation at some point in time.
Seems like there what? You kind of cut out there.
Oh, I'm just saying it seems like there had to be some type of premeditated conversation prior to all this. Hello?
Hello? Okay, I think we're good. Skype was crashing.
Yeah, internet connection problem. But I think stream probably still heard what I said though. But what I was saying is do you not think there was some type of premeditated conversation? Was it not possible maybe he spoke to Days in Poland? I know you're saying they weren't on the same flight and stuff, but I mean, you never know. Y'all are at the same venue in a hotel. It's very possible they could have met up at some point. I'm not trying to stir the pot with that particular question, but I'm just saying you would think that this type of move was more premeditated than a instantaneous decision after he got back home. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think definitely. I mean, I already said I think maybe Days and him were talking before Poland, and then maybe they talked a little bit in Poland. I mean, I don't know. From what I've heard that people said when Brax was talking, some of the things he said to Jordan and whoever else, it sounded a lot like Days' words. So maybe Days got in his head or something like that. And maybe Days actually did convince him. So I don't actually doubt that that's probably what happened. I don't doubt that they probably did talk in Poland. I don't doubt that they probably talked before and they probably talked after. So, yes, it would not surprise me if that is actually what happened.
Right on. So here's my other question then. Is you say that you had no idea that he would want to leave and it was just caught you guys off guard. But my question is this. Was there not any inter-clan turmoil, or maybe I think I heard through a grapevine that there was something with the environment of the team that he wasn't feeling anymore, like maybe people were having issues with attitudes, maybe people arguing and not getting along, or maybe even one other theory I just randomly had is maybe it seemed like iBUYPOWER had more funding for their team. They're getting the boot camps and the travel. You guys missed out on a boot camp. I don't know if – I think it had more to do with logistics than funding for your guys' missed boot camp. So does any of that ring a bell or raise a red flag of some potential motivations for leaving the team?
Well, talking about the iBUYPOWER's complexity, that I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think Brax doesn't care about that kind of stuff. I think, he's a young kid. He wants to have fun. I think once you get to a certain point in anything, once you get to a professional level, the game kind of stops being fun and more kind of is like a job. It's more like a repetitive, try to get better. You don't really get to have that much fun. So maybe that's what it was. That had nothing to do with iBUYPOWER's complexity. I refuse to believe that. I don't think Brax would be like that. And now you're talking about the general attitude of the team. Okay. Well, when we play online, one of the things that you probably know, and one of the things that probably everybody knows, when we play online matches and we're not really taking it that seriously, although we are taking it seriously, we do our best to make Brax have fun. We did our best. I mean, there's a lot of TKing. There's a lot of trolling. There's a lot of laughs being had. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you add me, Jordan, and Brax all together, if you heard some of our mumble conversations, I don't know what you guys would think. It would be hilarious. But, I mean, I think that on our end, we try to do our best to make Brax comfortable. We gave Brax what he wanted in the game. We made Brax try. I mean, we tried to make Brax feel at home. We had nobody still has any idea that Brax was unhappy. He never said that to any of us. He never said, I'm not liking this. I'm not having fun. Our team is bad. I mean, he never said anything like that. So again, I don't really know. I can only kind of guess why he left, but again, I don't really know. I wish I did again. I really don't know.
Do you think in some strange world that for some reason Swag saw more potential in the roster he's about to be a part of? We don't even know who the fifth of that team is yet. We can make assumptions and speculate. I think I have a pretty good idea who it is. A lot of people do. Do you just think that for whatever reason, maybe, just maybe, he saw more potential in that team in the future than Cole? I mean, I don't know. I thought you guys had plenty of potential, but I mean,
you have to think about it like this. He was on a team with those players for right after he was after that first season. He was on Dynamic. He played with what? Adren, AZK, Volcano, Hiko, and
that was it.
And Brax, yeah. So that was their 5. So obviously he played with them for a bit. They cut Hiko. They got Jordan. They kind of weren't that good as a team then, and then Jordan and Brax ended up playing with us. So I don't know why he would end up going back. I know what he said about the team before. I know why he left the Dynamic team in the first place. But for him to go back to that after everything he's already said to us, I mean, it kind of has to be dazed, right? I mean, he's the only person that was on the team before that probably could convince Brax to do something like that. So, I don't really know why he would do it. I really don't. I really wish he would say something to us. I really do. Brax, if you're listening, tell us. Come talk to us. We want to talk to you. But, yeah. I don't know.
So here's the Russell Jimmy's question. I think that's going to catch a lot of heat. And
okay.
I'm sorry, but here it comes. Did you guys ever fear nothing was going to leave as well? Because there's 2 reasons why I asked this question. So first reason, nothing and Swag, as you've already stated, some of the better friends on the team. They were the closest, maybe. You know, Swag's closest friend on the team was Jordan. So they've always stuck together. They played together in Dynamic. They played together in Cole. They've always kind of been together. Even in 1.6, they were together towards the end. So that's reason number 1 why I asked this question. Reason number 2, not disclosing any sources. I heard rumors that there was also contact made with nothing separate from Swag, trying to get a package deal going on to iBUYPOWER. Now, first of all, am I right? Is that true? Was there an attempt? Or am I completely off base? Nothing had nothing to do with this, and you guys didn't fear him leaving at all?
Well, I think anytime 2 people are close friends and one of those friends leaves, I think that's definitely a concern that you have to consider. We confronted Jordan. Jordan said if no matter what happens, he doesn't care what happens. He is signed to Complexity. He's not going to leave the Complexity contract. I think Jordan is somebody who wouldn't lie. I'm inclined to believe him. He sounded sincere, and he said he wanted to stick around. He said I don't know what was said between Brax and Jordan. I don't know if Jordan actually did commit to the team. I don't know if Jordan ever even talked to them. But from what he told us, he said he wanted to stick around. He said he's with us till at least the contract is over. Trying to rebuild a team with Jordan and now Anger. So I don't think it was ever really an option for him to leave for iBUYPOWER. I think
contractually speaking, correct? Is that what you're referring to?
Well, contractually speaking, and just kind of what I would expect from him. I think, I don't think anyone really would have been surprised if he wanted to step down after Brax left. I don't think he would have went to played for another team. I think maybe he would have stepped down.
No way.
Kind of took a step back, maybe started to stream full time. But I don't think he would have ever left.
So no chance in hell he would have went to iBUYPOWER is what you're telling me.
I don't think so, no.
I have to take your word on it. I was kind of curious about that. And I think a lot of people were at first.
I mean, as I said, I think everybody now knows that Brax and Jordan, for a long time, were a package deal. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's changed. Obviously, I think Jordan is kind of disgusted by how Brax has acted. I think Jordan is not accepting the way that Brax has left the team and how Brax has treated us. So I think that maybe their bridge has kind of burned as well. So, yeah, I don't think Jordan was ever planning on leaving, though.
So hypothetical, your contract's up. I'm not going to say when it is, but your contract's going to be up at some point in time in the future. We'll just leave it at that, right?
Okay.
What are the chances that at that point, nothing's out the door? or that the team itself folds, or how stable is your team really at this point? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, after you're on a team for a long time, after you've kind of achieved a lot, and obviously roster changes are kind of a hit to the stability of a team, and everyone. I think at the end of a contract like this, everyone's gonna. I mean, we're gonna have to step back and say, okay, well, this is where we're at. Do we want to keep playing? If we decide yes, then obviously we'll stay a team. If we decide if people decide they just want to quit, they're not having fun, they want to leave, then we'll have to see. I mean, I think my hunger right now to be better than we were in Poland and Sweden and Texas, I am incredibly ready to start playing. I'm playing a lot now. I mean, I haven't been streaming a lot, but that doesn't mean I'm not playing. I am playing a lot, and I think all of my teammates, including Jordan, after Brax left and after now, we're kind of taking a step back and being like, okay, well, look. This is actually a conversation we had with Jordan. Well, okay, Jordan, you haven't been that motivated in the past, but now we're going to play with a new fifth. We're going to have to put in more time. Are you willing to put in the time? Are you willing to sit here and practice for X hours a day, X days a week, and actually be motivated to play? We have a new fifth. We're going to do a whole bunch of new stuff. We're going to go over a whole bunch of new stuff. If you have the motivation to stay, then we want you to stay. And if not, then we want you to step down. And obviously he stayed. Obviously he has the desire, he has the passion, hopefully to stick with us and keep playing with us and keep practicing with us every night as much as we want to until at least we get to go to our next tournament. So I guess time will only tell about how that will be. But I think everybody right now is motivated. Everybody right now wants to be better. Everyone wants to prove that, well, look, Brax left, but we're still going to be able to do, as good as we ever had before. So,
all right, so let's move to the iBUYPOWER side, because Scoots made some comments in chat, and I was getting to what you were saying, Scoots, actually. Let's talk about the iBUYPOWER situation now. So obviously we know who their 4 players are. Who's their 5th? I have a pretty good idea who it is. I think it's going to be Steel. Who do you think is going to be?
Could be Steel. I mean, I don't know. I haven't talked to any of those players. I literally have not spoken a word to any of those people since Brax has left. So I don't know. I've heard Steel.
It's either Steel. Yeah, it's either Steel, TCK. Nothing else comes to mind that works for me.
Yeah.
Frost doesn't work. They already have an opper.
I mean, this has been something that I was thinking about too. I mean, imagine tomorrow one of my players was to quit. Imagine tomorrow Anger was to quit. Imagine we didn't sign Anger. Anger didn't want to play with us. Who would we have a possibility of getting? Who would work with our team? Be able to work with our team and actually make it work. And I dropped blank. I didn't know. I'm like, okay, well, I guess, looking back at our old team, well, there's TCK, there's Frost, I guess there's Steel, but there really is nobody else. I couldn't say I wouldn't want to play with anybody else other than those 3 players, and even all 3 of those players wouldn't really fit that well on our team. So we got kind of fortunate that Anger wanted to play with us, and Anger was, whatever happened with him and iBUYPOWER happened, and he wanted to play with us. So, we got kind of lucky. Now, if we didn't have Anger, as I said, I wouldn't know who. I have no idea who iBUYPOWER is going to use.
Let me put it
they
to you
could
this
use.
way.
Go ahead.
Here, I'm going to give you my analysis of it because people want it. So here it is. They're not going to pick up Freakazoid because you already did, first of all, as a backup, I guess. Second of all, Daze doesn't like Freakazoid. He's always had issues with Freakazoid's game sense and game mentality and its play style. And they don't necessarily need an aggressive rifler, and Freakazoid pretty much plays at 1 speed unless you tell him otherwise and he listens to you. But naturally, he plays at 1 speed, and that's go. That's aggro. That's his style. And that's not necessarily going to fit with them. TCK is an option, but I honestly don't even know how much that dude's been playing the game. I don't think he really does play it very much. I think he's focused on other games or just having fun or real-life shit, whatever. Point is, he's not really competing in Go anymore ever since Quantic days, right? So either they just bring him out of retirement, which is possible. People like Volcano have done this at times where they've not touched the game for a while, come back, ease their way into it, and then join a team and try to make a big run. So TCK is an option. But I don't see it for some reason. It's just not clicking in my head. It's just not making sense. The dude's been gone. Let's cut those two options off the table. At that point, you have Frost. Dude's played with Days before, but you don't need an opper. You already have one. Skadoodle's already stated, I'm going back to opping. Well, guess what? If you don't need an opper, why pick one up? I'm sick of teams thinking, let's pick up an opper just because they're good at that, and we'll use them for something else, though. We'll use them as a rifler, even though it's not his dominant gun. So Frost doesn't make sense to me either. Mo obviously doesn't make sense. I think people are just trolling when they mention that name. That's just another person that, unless you need an opper, you don't need Mo, and the dude's banned from ESEA anyway. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to get him unbanned somehow and get him to play with you? That's not going to cut it. And I honestly think that Dazed and Mo would butt heads anyway. So at that point, I'm left with a couple of different options. One, nothing from your team, but apparently I got shut down on that, and that's not happening. So, boom. Nobody else on your team gets along with Dazed, so don't really have to worry about anybody else in the complexity roster. Everybody else is safe and tightly packed in there, so no need. So at that point, what do you have left? Well, the logical choice would be to look at Dazed history. Since we already eliminated Frost and TCK, only person left is Steel and you and Semphis, and you guys aren't going anywhere. So Steel is the logical choice. Now, obviously, Steel would have to make some big life decisions. Got to move back to the States if he really wants to be able to compete with this team seriously. Of course, he half-assed competed with Reliable Gaming all last season long from Europe, and we all saw the results of that. Couldn't even win domestically. So guess what? That's not going to fly. iBUYPOWER wants to be an international contender. You need your teammate with good ping, with you as much as possible practice-wise in the States. So one or two scenarios happens here. Either Steel moves back to Canada and they start playing together as a 5, or iBUYPOWER has to look elsewhere. And who else are they going to grab? Because there's really no LAN-proven veterans, because that's what they want, right? You don't want some online gamble. We all saw what happened when they tried to do that, and it didn't work, because you need to have a LAN-proven vet if you want to be an international contender. So who's left? No one. Fucking no one is left. Like, it's either you steal somebody from another team, which is possible.
Our team is really the only team that they can steal somebody with that has experience like that.
Yeah, so that they want. Unless maybe a U5 member that's like a legend in the game, I guess. But that's not clicking in my head either. I feel like they're a group of friends that want to just play together and have fun because they have real-life commitments to worry about, right? So at that point, it's either that or you roll the dice and you grab a youngster that you think can be an impact player, but you don't even really know for sure because they're not LAN proven yet. So at that point, two options. Roll the dice, grab Steel. I pick option number 2, grab Steel. That's what I think. That's my analysis. What do you think about that? Give me your thoughts.
That probably sounds the best to me, too. I mean, I think days before, he played with players like Slip and Naf, and I know that he didn't like playing with them. I know that he probably would never do it again. So Steel probably seems like the most logical choice. But, again, you kind of hit it where, unless he's going to move back home, I personally wouldn't want to play with Steel if he isn't back in the U.S. or Canada or whatever. If he's not moving back, then I wouldn't even consider him an option. It just makes it too hard.
Yep.
So even if you discount Steel, I mean, there's really nobody else, and that's exactly what I was saying.
I guess I did forget maybe like an Irakanji or a D-Born or something like that. They're LAN vets from 1.6, but not Go, so I don't really know about that either. He did almost play with them online, I think when they were a Denial, like way back.
You're talking about D-Born?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Irakanji, I think, was on that roster at one point. It was just all like preseason roster transactions. They never actually played a game together, so. Monty, Neil, maybe another option. I didn't think about saying that name, but
all those players from before, though, all those players that were on our old teams, on Days old teams, probably 90% of them don't even play the game anymore. I know for a fact, minus maybe yesterday, TCK, who I still talk to, he hasn't even loaded up CS in like 6 to 7 months.
Yeah.
Frost has been on like a number of teams, but I don't think he's on a team anymore. And Steel, I mean, what was it that you said about Steel? I mean, he tried to join a bunch of European teams, and they kind of all have failed. So I don't know if that's something you can really blame Steel for, or maybe that's the other teams that he was playing on. But I mean, unfortunately,
what team in the UK has come out recently and done well?
None.
Okay, I'm done with that.
That's true. I mean, he's not limited to UK teams.
That's true. You got me on that one.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's actually Steel's fault that all of his teams fail in Europe. I know from talking about Steel in the past with Dazed hated Steel after Dazed got cut from his team in Source. Dazed hated Steel.
No, I agree. That's a
And
tough
now
one.
all of a sudden people are like, oh yeah, Daze is going to play with Steel. Steel might be playing with Steel. Oh, what? Why?
What makes you get over things like that, though? $250,000 would make me get over it real fast, wouldn't it? If that's your best option.
I mean, I suppose, but even then,
Because I thought about that too. I'm like, they had a really big falling out in Source, especially like over the Razer sponsorship that wound up going to Daze and Netcode Illuminati. That really ticked Steel off because that's a sponsor that he wanted, I think, for his future teams. And so, yeah, they had a really big falling out. I agree. But guess what? Like, a lot of people have had falling outs and wound up getting back together on teams later on. So, we'll talk about that in a second, actually, with your recent transaction, right? So, unless you got something else, I'll just leave it with the predictions I gave, and we'll just have to see what they do in the next couple of weeks.
yeah, I mean, that's as much as we can do at this point.
All right, so question now. Let's remember all those things you said about iBUYPOWER about 15 minutes ago, right? So why pick up Anger? Is it just because there was nothing left on the table and that was your best bet? Or do you really have a different opinion about Anger now than you maybe had about 6 to 8 months ago?
I mean, I think Anger has always been. Anger to me is a lot like Brax, where they need to. They need to be comfortable. They need to be 100% comfortable with exactly what they're doing, exactly their exact playstyle. They need to know what they're doing. I think in the in the past, I don't think Daze used Anger to his full potential like he should, and I think that's one of Sean's very, very, very strongest suits is that he can make everybody. He can put everybody where they want to be. He can put everybody in the spot they're most comfortable with and get the most performance out of them. So I think Anger will play a lot better on our team than he did on his old teams because of that. Because Sean will know exactly where to put him. Because Anger will be more comfortable. And I think that's, in the end, what people need. People like Anger, people like Swag, need to actually play good. So I think in the end, I know there's been a lot of bad things said about Anger from our team and about our team from their team, but I think we're all kind of putting it on the back burner. We're all being like, okay, well, that's all in the past. Anger is a really nice guy. Todd is very awesome. I mean, we've only been playing with him for a few days now. I think just last night was our first time, and I think we will get as good as we were, if not better than before, than with Todd compared to with Brax.
Really? So you really think that you're going to be better with Anger than you were with Swag? You honestly believe that?
Eventually, I do think that. And, again, that's not talking bad or talking whatever about Brax. I just think that we're going to be able to focus a lot more on, more tactical type strategies, more, put everybody where they want to go and let them do their own thing. And that's what Sean is good at. That's what Anger is going to excel at. And I do think we will eventually be better.
So what's the pros and cons of this transaction? Because it's a really hard way to analyze that, right? Because you got forced into this, kind of. At the end of the day, let's be real here. If you had the choice, wouldn't you have kept Brax if you never wanted to leave instead of picking up Anger? The honest answer, that's probably a yes, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, I mean, you really have to analyze the pro and cons of this situation from an optimistic point of view because you have to survive as a team, right? So at the end of the day, though, let's be realistic. How much does this really weaken or strengthen your team? Because, yeah, maybe you can say all day, I can focus on things I couldn't focus on before. But in reality, for the roles that your players play, or at least what we've seen, obviously you could change things. How much does this hurt? I mean, is Anger just going to be able to pop in and play Swag's role, and you're going to keep a similar play style? Or does this transition mean that Anger is going to have to, you're going to have to change things and make them different? So how does this work? Does Anger just step in the Swag's shoes and you're like, all right, good to go. We got a player to do Swag's role. Let's move along. Or is it going to be completely different now? You know what I mean?
I think absolutely with any team in the world, any team in any league, and probably in any game, the minute you replace one of your players that you have chemistry for over a year now, it's going to hurt you in the short run. I don't care if Brax left and we got like a Force or a Get Right, we would still get worse. I mean, the chemistry is kind of thrown off a little bit. It's going to take a little bit of time to actually build up our chemistry and actually find out what we're going to do on all the different maps. Now, on the other hand, you're asking about if Todd is going to fit right into all of Swag's roles and if we're going to actually just keep all of our stuff the same way. Absolutely not. As I said, Sean is really good at kind of pulling out players' strengths. So I think one of the things that we kind of decided on when we decided on Anger is we're going to kind of move away from a double lurker. I mean, I'm like kind of like the main lurker on any team I've ever been on. And Brax has kind of been the lurker as well. So Brax didn't really like to do that, I don't think. I don't think Brax really... I don't know if Brax wanted my role or if Brax wanted to be like more of a... like a Jordan type role where he just runs out. But I think we're going to change our dynamic a little bit, and we're not going to have like a double lurk anymore, which probably, I mean, I think will benefit us. I think, obviously I'm not going to give away my tactics or anything, but you'll have to see. We're going to change our dynamic up a bit. I think we will eventually be better with it, and I think that it's just going to take us some time to build the chemistry, go over all the maps, and actually everyone get comfortable with playing. You know, obviously some people are going to have different spots. I mean, I think last night we played like Train and Nuke, and on Nuke, like our CT. I mean, again, last night was our first time ever playing as a team, and that was our first time ever playing with Todd. So, I mean, even on like CT Nuke and T Nuke, Nuke has always been our one of our bad maps. We tried to put Todd in just like we went over the map for 2 seconds before when we went live. So nobody really knew what we were doing. Nobody really knew what anyone was doing, and it kind of ended up biting us in the end. But I think we're just going to need to take some time to go over all the maps, get some chemistry, and I think we will be fine.
Right. So here's my question. Everybody's talked about how Anger has insane aim, right? I think a lot of people would agree if you watch him stream, watch him deathmatch. The dude's aim is pretty nuts. Like, it's really good. But we've also, like, I've had this discussion with Adrin, and I've talked about it with you guys off air a lot. It seems like there's almost two different Angers when it comes to LAN time. One Anger is very confident, very poised, playing to his potential, lights out player. Then there's the other Anger where maybe he's a little bit less confident, maybe a little bit too timid or something like that, and so he doesn't necessarily perform to his full potential, and people always rag on him saying that he's online only and stuff like that, which I think is ridiculous because the dude dominated in Counter-Strike Source for years, so obviously he can compete on LAN. And he's had, like, ESEA LAN with iBUYPOWER was a really good event for him. The previous ESEA LAN on Curse was a really good event for him. So he's had really good events. It's just, I guess, you know, since iBUYPOWER did so poorly at DreamHack Winter and Katowice, those are the two resonant memories in everyone's head when they think about Anger and the rest of the players on that team as far as being online only or whatever. So here's my question. I almost think that maybe you guys had like a similar mindset. Maybe it was just trash talking though about him, you know, when he was your opponent. Now he's your teammate. How do you feel about that type of judgment?
I mean, I think that's that's something that's just kind of in the game. I mean, Sempus is very, very good at picking on a team's weakness, and I mean, he says a lot of stupid things that aren't really true, but it just gets in people's heads. So I think, as you said, talking purely about Todd, Anger, for him to be online only doesn't really make sense because he was a very dominant player in Source. So with that being said, everyone kind of knows that he has the potential to do good at tournaments. I don't know why at some tournaments he didn't, but I think that one of the things we're going to focus on, as I said, is making him very comfortable in our team, making sure he has most, if not all, of the roles that he wants. And again, I think playing with people like Dazed, playing with, I don't really know who else he played with before Dazed. I guess it was all the iBUYPOWER people. or the dynamic people
And he's
at that
played
time.
with that. And he played with Curse before Adren and stuff like that started when he was playing with like Stan, Michael
Yeah,
3D.
I think after he was cut from dynamic the first time, when he
Yeah.
went back, I don't think that was a good. I think that was a bad move by him. I think he should have just kind of tried to move on past that.
Mhm.
And anytime you cut somebody and then you bring him back, that to me just seems like a recipe for disaster. I mean,
Mhm.
you cut him for a specific reason. Now you're bringing him back to try to make it work again. I mean, there's almost no chance it's going to work. So I think Todd kind of lost the respect of his dynamic teammates after he was cut the first time and brought back. And I think that Days played against him for so long that he probably didn't respect him either. So both teams in CSGO probably didn't use him to his full potential as a player. And I think that, again, I hate to keep saying this, but I feel like that's what people need to know. Something that our team has always been good on, something that Sean is the greatest at, is putting people in their best roles, bringing out their strengths, putting them where they want to play, and we excel from it. So I think that we will respect Todd more than any of his other teammates did. We will trust him. We will give him all the roles he wants, and we will see a very positive and good showing from him at tournaments, either online or at LAN.
So you made the point about it's hard for these players to have respect for him because they cut them or thought poorly of him in the past. Couldn't I say the same thing about you guys?
With what?
With regards to the respect level for him since of the previous like attitudes you've had about him in the past when he was your opponent. Like, I know you've always been friends with him to an extent, like you guys matchmake and stream together sometimes, and so you've always, like, you know, had fun in that regard, and I don't think there was really any seriously bad blood. But you know the trash talking that goes on at LANs and stuff like that. And so does that preconceived negative attitude towards Anger, which you've already referred to in regards to the dynamic guys and Dazed, does that not apply to your team since you guys kind of barked at him when you were opponents and had a negative attitude?
Well, the difference is we never played on a team with Todd. I think we've all talked whatever to Todd. It's all in our nature. It's all in competitiveness. But I think that, like, once he becomes a teammate of yours, once we agree on having him as a teammate, that kind of gets all thrown out. I don't think that we respect him any less than we would have if we never talk shit to him. I mean, I think it's a lot different when you play against him for years and years and years in Source. I mean, Days and Anger, I don't know if they were friends or not before, but I know that once, okay, say tomorrow we were to cut Sean,
Okay.
and let's bring it back a little bit. Let's say Days cut Sean, all right? Now, like he did when we were on whatever team before. Now, let's say after we cut Sean, we got whoever, and then we wanted to cut TCK as well. And then our only option was Sean. If we got Sean back at that time, Dazed would respect Sean like almost nothing. Dazed would think, okay, well, I already cut Sean once. I don't want to play with him again. If he's our only option, then okay, he's our only option. That's what we're going to have to deal with. So, like, it's a lot different after you've already cut someone, after you've already, like, kind of burned the bridge the first time, to try to make the bridge work the second time. It doesn't work like that. If I was ever cut from a team, like, let's say I was cut from the Check 6 and 1.6 with, like, XV3, Fraud, and Storm, I personally would never want to play with them again. I felt betrayed. I'm sure after Todd was cut from Dynamic, he felt betrayed. And it was kind of one of those things where well, there's no other options. There's nothing else I can do here. So I might as well try to make it work. Although it's a terrible situation to be in, I'll try to make it work as best as I can. And I will try to just make it work, as I said. So, I mean, it's a lot different than talking shit about somebody that you've been playing against. I mean, I think everybody, you even said it, Todd has some of the sickest aim you've ever seen when he streams at home. I mean, he pulls some crazy shots.
Just in general, when I cast his matches online, the dude's freaking nuts. He's nuts on LAN a lot of the time, too. I just think that people let the couple of negative events that he's had be the dominant conversation, rather than understanding there was 2 LANs where he played lights out. But people are quick to forget those things when the most recent result is a negative one, or when their negative results come on the big stage when big money is involved.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's kind of unfair the flack he catches at times.
Yeah, I think so too. So I do think that in the end we will be a much more solid team with Todd, and we will be better than we were before. I'm very confident in it.
Yeah. So with that being said, so basically this whole concept then, what I was referring to about Anger being sometimes too timid on LAN and his play style, do you feel that is a concern that is legitimate? Or do you feel like that's illegitimate and Anger's totally fine and he just needs better support, I guess? I don't know.
I think you can kind of look back in the past. I think Sean, Semphis, and even Jordan to an extent, they kind of accepted playing with Sobo, and they even accepted playing with Brax for his first time ever being at a LAN. And I mean, Brax turned out to be, I mean, one of the best players in America. So, I mean, I think one thing about our team, one thing about our personalities is it is very easy to get along with us. It is very, very easy to join with us and play with us because there's very little stress, there's very little tension. We never, ever, ever fight or argue about stupid things. There might be some trolling, but there's not really, there's not, it's just very easy to mesh with us. So I think we will use Todd to his advantages, and Sean will be able to put him in roles that he wants to be in. We will make him comfortable, and I think this is a new day and age for the complexity team. I'm excited for it.
So with that being said, what do you think your future is? I mean, you said it's going to take time to mesh, but do you still feel that your future can be bright? Do you still feel, I mean, obviously your next event's probably the next ESEA LAN this summer, and then from there it just depends on what tournaments get announced. I don't think Copenhagen's a big enough prize pool to interest you guys much. So what do you think the future is for you guys? Is it bright? Does it look kind of bleak right now? You know, I think a lot of the community members think that, and we'll talk about this because we'll talk about iBUYPOWER again really quick before we move on to other stuff. I think it seems like the external perspective from a lot of people that I've been, because I read the comments and stuff like that on the news posts and stuff like that, is iBUYPOWER gained a lot, Cole lost a lot. That's what I keep hearing. So is that true, or do you think the future for Cole is still fine?
I think that we will definitely be okay. I don't know why people think that iBUYPOWER gained a bunch by getting Brax. I mean, Brax is a great player. Brax has the potential to be probably one of the best players in the world in CSGO. But they also got rid of a fourth, too. I mean, they have to replace two people. And they're basically forming like a new core. I mean, I guess the dazed AZK Skadoodle core is still there. But replacing two people is a lot worse than replacing only one. So they're almost going to have to start a new team. I mean, Adren was, from what I heard, Adren was a big into their strats. Adren called a lot of stuff on the fly. So it's going to be 100% days now. It's going to be a lot of, okay, well, it depends. I mean, Dazed is one of those people that needs 100% control or he'll never be happy. Now, knowing how Brax plays, I don't know if Dazed will be happy with Brax. I don't know if Dazed and Brax will actually even get along. I think maybe for the time being it might, but I don't actually know what would eventually end up happening. So, I mean, I guess, so, I mean, we've been a team longer than iBUYPOWER has. So I guess if you consider that and consider like we lost a bunch of chemistry, then I guess that's true. But that's something that we can't build up again. And it's easier to build your chemistry and your spots and everything like that up with one new person more than it is with two new people. So that's what I think.
I got you. So let's go back to iBUYPOWER then. So here's what the external perspective is on iBUYPOWER, even though it's kind of mixed. So Skadoodle is considered one of the best operators in North America, if not the best. A lot of people would say online only, though, I guess, but I think he's starting to come around on LAN, too. So that's one of your best operators in North America, at least top 5, right? So let's just go with that. Then you have Dazed, which outside of Sean and maybe Adren, probably considered one of the better in-game leaders in North America. He's also well known for, like, I guess historically speaking, and just like the stereotype is that in-game leaders won't frag as hard as the rest of the team, which a lot of people point to your team and say that sometimes. Whereas Daze like actually at some of the lands he's been to has been the top performer statistically frag wise on his team, as well as being the in-game lead. So you kind of have those two players that are like maybe the best at what they do, or at least like top 5 in what they do. So you have something good there, right? And then AZK, I mean, he was way more dominant in Source than he is in Go, but I mean, at times, especially ESEA LAN, he's also proven to be pretty good as well, especially since he's gone from sniping to rifling. I mean, that's a little bit different taste for him, but you know, so let's say those are the core 3 for iBUYPOWER. They're actually some of the best at what they do. They pick up Swag, who is, like you just said, you know, potentially one of the best players coming out right now in CSGO. And so that as long as you think, as long as they pick up a solid 5th, then like speaking statistically only, or speaking like in stereotypes only, they would have like an all-star lineup, so to speak, right? And when you look at your guys, it's kind of the same way, because you're the best lurker by far. Semphis is a really good entry fragger. Sean also very well known for being a smart in-game lead. And then you have Anger, who I guess some people have a question mark over, but I would just say that he's pretty good at the role that he plays. So riddle me this, like how good is iBUYPOWER now? Like, I mean, you say that they picked up Swag, which is huge, but you know, replacing 2 is harder, that type of thing. I mean, where do you rate the situations right now? I mean, I guess it's hard to say, you haven't really played yet, but let's just say potential in the long run. If you had to predict, who's going to wind up being better because of this, you or iBUYPOWER?
Well, since we don't know who iBUYPOWER is going to play with the 5th yet, that's hard to predict. I mean, I have no idea.
Let's just guess it's Steel.
I can't see Steel working with them. I really can't. I can't see that team working for more than 2-3 months. So, all right, but for sake of
pick your
this,
best option. Pick your best option in your head, and then roll with that.
There is no good option.
Okay.
I mean, they're in a terrible position.
Okay.
So we'll consider Steel. They're 4 plus Steel, and us 5 right now. I think I can't expect iBUYPOWER to do any better at international tournaments. I really can't. I mean, they've proven that I don't know what it is, but it seems like they just can't perform at international tournaments. Now, we've played with Daze. We know Daze is capable of it, but I don't know what the other players are going to be like. Obviously, Brax is going to be very good. Steel, I mean, all 5 of those players had played enough tournaments that they could be good, but I don't know if that will actually correlate with their new roster for a long period of time on LAN. I think our team will. I think us 4, we've proven that we have the potential. We are able and capable of being a top team. Now with Todd, we have some work to do. We have some chemistry to build up. We have some preparing to do. But I still think that we will be ultimately the top team in America eventually. If we're not right now, then I think we will be eventually.
All right. So let's move off this. We're done. People can ask questions later if they want in relation to this, but I'm done with it. We've been talking about it for a while. So now I'm just going to brush over some other news I wanted to go through just to get your reactions, and then from there we'll open it up to questions, and I'll do the mouse giveaway, which is right here. That's going to be given away. But anyway, so we've had some other North America roster changes as well. I don't know how much you've been paying attention to it. But, of course, Reliable Gaming Canada is making changes. Daps left. He's joined Ronin's in place of Rush. So that Ronin's team is already different than, like, actually they're almost completely different now than Savage. They only have 3 remaining players from that original main lineup that won main last season. Reliable Gaming Canada's in the situation of reforming as well now because Daps left and went to go play with Ronin's. So you have that whole situation. Reliable Gaming, I think, is still the same. Like, people are saying Roka left that team, but he really didn't. And that was just kind of like a bullshit troll, apparently, at LAN or something. So you have all those things going on amongst what's gone on with you and iBUYPOWER. So obviously, those changes kind of got put in the background because more people were really focused on your situation, of course. So with that being said, do you have any reactions to any of this? Is anybody going to get better? Apparently, Pex joined Reliable Gaming Canada with Pauly and A2Z. Apparently that's the new lineup for Reliable Gaming Canada.
Everything of what you just said, I had no idea about. And to be honest with you, I kind of tuned you out because it really doesn't bother me. It would be nice if a team was able to stick to a 5 and actually compete, but it seems like all the other teams, and I mean, now I guess you can even say my team and iBUYPOWER, look, I mean, now we have roster changes. Now everybody is just kind of taking a step back. Now everyone's like, okay, now nobody knows where any of the American teams stand anymore. Nobody knows if we're going to be good. Nobody knows if iBUYPOWER is going to be good. We're going to have to go to another tournament, prove everybody wrong, hopefully win it. If not, then it'll be another 5 months on, another whole thing. And it's a big mess. It set North American CS back at the very top level.
So you ready for this fact really quick?
I'd love to hear it.
So there's 9 teams in Invite, right?
Okay.
Guess how many teams had the same roster as last season?
0.
1.
Which one?
United 5.
Okay, there you go. Which, I mean, who knows? Maybe United 5 will be the best team in America. Maybe they'll get a solid sponsor and they'll start going to national tournaments. I mean, you never know. But I think, I don't know. It really sucks that every team just makes a whole bunch of roster changes, and it really sucks that people are susceptible to be kind of corrupted by other people, whether that's from my team, wink wink, or if that's from any other team. People don't have the loyalty, people don't have the respect for their teammates, the respect for their organizations to stick around, to tough it out, and to deal with it. So in the end, I mean, what can you really do? It comes down to individual people. It comes down to specific players. I mean, not only talking about our team, even the lower tier teams. I mean, look at all these teams. Why would Reliable Gaming Canada switch? They've been a team since ESEA Main, right? Why would
ETS? That's pretty much the main reason.
I mean, I guess that's true, but I mean, I would much rather see a team stick together when they're failing than make a roster change to think that would make them better. I mean, maybe it will, but I think in the past, it's proven that it doesn't. It's proven that it makes you a worse team, and it kind of adds like a shelf life to your team. Like, okay, after X amount of roster changes, your team will die. I mean, people's motivation and people's reason for playing starts to diminish the more and more roster changes they go through. So we'll have to see.
So with all that being said, then, how competitive is Invite this season in ESEA? Or, of course, CVOP, our other league in North America that I'm glad is back and supporting North American CSGO. I think Cotton and Spangler are in here, so shout out to those guys, of course, and CVO. Like, how competitive are those leagues then? Because I feel like it's like maybe you and iBUYPOWER, like, at some point will still be considered ahead of the game. But it seems like the other teams are actually competing pretty well with one another. And I interviewed Juvenile in the last episode, and he was actually commenting that teams like yours need to be on the lookout, that you won't be able to get away with free wins online because these other teams are playing more and practicing more and are hungry and trying to chase you guys. So my question is based on all that we've said so far, you know, how competitive is Invite to you guys, our CVOP? You know, is there other North American teams out there that are in fact chasing you guys and getting close, or are you guys still, you know, above and beyond?
I think on the internet, that remains to be seen. I think a lot of players and a lot of teams on the internet take a lot more risk than any other team would ever. I think this season is very competitive because of that fact. There's a lot of new players. There's a lot of players that haven't really experienced what it's like playing on LAN, what it's like being in that, you know, close, very close, like grinding out rounds, like being down, going in an uphill battle. People don't really know what that feels like. And I think online people kind of have a false sense of confidence that, you know, normally they wouldn't, which is why a lot of teams are said to be online, which is why me personally and a lot of my teammates think most of these new players are very online and won't do good at lanterns because they take these risks, because they have this confidence that if we were playing them on LAN and you have Semphis yelling at you and you have Sean yelling at you, and you have me yelling at you from across the room.
Semphis has been quiet these days, though. What
happened? Not in Poland.
Okay, not in Poland.
In Poland, imagine looking over your monitor above you, and Semphis is there yelling at you, "Look into my eyes." He literally was yelling, "Look into my eyes" to Kenny S, staring at him in the eyes. So
wow.
there's a lot of factors that come into play at LAN compared to online. So a lot of these players, you know, yeah, sure, they seem pretty solid and they seem pretty promising online, but until they get to a LAN, we don't really know. And because of that, because people are running around with all this confidence, because people are re-peaking and pushing when they're not supposed to, it's very hard to gauge how they actually would be if we actually got to play them at a tournament at LAN. So, yeah, it's a challenging thing. I think this season there's a lot of potential, but I don't know if that will actually correlate at all. I don't know if any of these players will actually even be an invite for more. It seems to me like a lot of these players, they have a short season invite, they look promising for a bit, and then they kind of fail, and then nobody else wants to play with them, so they go back to ESEA main. And they kind of work their way up again, get back to invite, and then like they just quit or they go somewhere. I don't know what happens to them, but I do think that I kind of went off track there. I think that this season is very competitive. I think that there definitely is not as many free wins as there once was. So we definitely have to kind of be on the lookout. We definitely have to put more effort into it, and we can't just roll over teams like we could before. I mean, last night was a perfect example. We almost got beat by the team that Slip is on, whatever, which, I mean, those are a bunch of players that seem like they could have potential, but when they do things like, they were talking shit to us, they were typing to us, they were being very annoying, people like those, like, I personally would never play with any of those players on that team just because of that match. And people need to, like, have respect for other players. I mean, you see all these big, long posts and paragraphs about how the scene needs to change and everything, and I agree, it does need to change. So, yeah, that was another little tangent off to the side, but
I'll ask her, why are you sitting on the floor? You can, like, you're a civil human being. Like, you can sit anywhere you want. I think she was just scared to, like, get in frame and, like...
Who is it?
It's my girlfriend. Like, I don't know. Like, she snuck in here, like, earlier in the show, and she was, like, crawling on the floor behind me. And people were like, what is that? Like, what? And, like, they're like, bobbing and weaving. And you're like, what is that? And I was, like, focused on the question or whatever, but... You're not. You're fine. Like, you can sit. Like, you don't have to sit on the floor. Like, it's okay. I'll get you to model off the giveaway in a second so people can see you, I guess. But so my point is this. My conclusion to that whole thought is, so do you feel there's any other team out there in North America right now besides yourself and iBUYPOWER, pending you guys mesh well with your new players and continue to do well and not fall apart? Let's just assume that things will be all hunky-dory. If that's the case, is there a third team or any number of teams you want to put on it that are capable of, like, eventually being another North American team we can look to in the future to be a real competitor?
Honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I really have no idea. I think from what you said before, I think United 5 maybe has the potential, but it's very hard to judge a team based on United 5, where they were motivated before, but they probably aren't motivated that much anymore. So I don't really know. I can't name you a team that I think really has the potential, because I not only do I don't know, I don't really believe there is. That's not really a shot fired at any other team. I have yet to be proved wrong. You have all these teams, I mean, all the teams that look to be like semi-decent online, I mean, when they get to LAN, they suck. I mean, like ESEA LANs, ESEA LANs are kind of the proof of that. I haven't seen really any players that really look promising. I mean, Freakazoid was one of the first ones that people are like, wow, Freakazoid might be good.
He's better on LAN than he is online, actually. Statistically speaking, that's true. He's better on LAN than online, like by a wide margin.
He has like a bad computer at home, and they have
maybe. Yeah.
A bunch of stuff.
But
so
on LAN, he's a monster.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. I can't really name you anybody else. And
U5 did pretty well last ESEA LAN. That's a team you mentioned yourself. So I think maybe if they have so many other commitments now, it's hard for them to commit to CS, I guess.
Yeah. I think going back real quick, going back on what you said about like American CS, I think one thing that's very important for us to have practice and for us to actually stay motivated and committed, one very important thing is we need to be able to play out in scrims. And I know this is going back a couple questions, but I forgot about it, and Jordan actually reminded me. I actually have had a support ticket into ESEA for 8 months now, trying to get scrims forced to be playing out. I mean, playing the 16 rounds is stupid. Something that always happens for us, mostly, it will go up 14-1 first half, like a CT Dust 2 or something, and then we'll win pistol, and look, the scrim is over. People are playing for the scrim win. People are playing to just win the scrims. They're not really like practicing at all, and that's a lot different than in Europe, because in Europe, every single scrim, every single practice, you play out 30 rounds, 100%. So I think that's a very important first step towards improving our scene and improving not only the top tier, but even the lower and middle tiers. Everybody needs to start playing 30 rounds. When the vote comes up to play like the scrim out, I've never ever had to play the scrim out. I've always vote 1, but never does it actually happen. So we really need to start playing out if it's possible.
That actually transitions pretty well into where I wanted to go with the rest of the show until we do viewer questions, was just the state that CSGO is in right now. So we're talking about like practice and stuff, but just from a different standpoint, like how do you feel like CSGO as an esport is right now? We've obviously had 2 majors now, so that's $500,000 in prize money that we've had in the past 6 months or so. How do you feel pretty good about, like, you're obviously a big part of this esport. We all are, I guess, as either fans or commentators or players or organizations, sponsors, yada, yada, yada. Is CSGO coming to its own now as a top 5 esport, let's say, in the world? How do you feel good about CSGO's place in the world right now, so to speak? I mean, what do you think?
I think we're definitely on the upward incline, I guess you can say. We're definitely, the tournament in Poland was definitely like an eye opener for a lot of sponsors and a lot of fans saying, well, look, I mean, the game has been increasing, the viewership, the player numbers, the stream numbers, all the numbers have been increasing, and I think it's only going to keep increasing. So I think it definitely, if it's not now, I think you can quote me on this. I believe Counter-Strike Go will be bigger than 1.6 was in the past. If people don't think it is already, it definitely will. So I think the game is definitely increasing, and it will become a top 5. You said definitely a top 5 title.
Right. Obviously, League of Legends is #1 right now in most people's eyes. Dota 2 is probably up there as well. StarCraft 2 seems to be on a decline.
Mm-hmm.
But it could come back with the latest expansion, which will come out probably the next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then CSGO, well, Call of Duty, I forgot to mention that. That's probably way up there, like when you come from console. If you just did PC esports, then yeah, I wouldn't even include that. But if you encapsulate all esports, Call of Duty, definitely really big. So yeah, I think you're right. I think we're on the upswing. I hope it continues. So my question is this, and this, I feel like this answer just gets said all the time anyways, but I'll let you do it anyway, is what needs to happen next? Like, what do we need to make sure this upswing doesn't plateau, to make sure we don't hit a peak and stop? Like, what do we need to do as a community? What does Valve need to do? What needs to happen for Go to continue to rise, do you think?
We need to keep the tournaments going. We need the streams to keep going. We need, those are the 2 big ones.
We need your support. Like, it needs to be grassroots support too. So you 250 people right now, thank you. You just supported CSGO in the long run, because I guarantee you I wouldn't have got this many numbers 8 months ago if I was interviewing somebody. So thanks. Like that's what I would add that to your list. Grassroots support absolutely needs to continue. We're seeing it. Need to see more of it. Thanks to you guys for being part of that part. But continue. What else can we think of here besides tournaments and stuff?
The streams need to keep going. The tournaments keep going. The support from the community, as you just said, that's huge. I mean, it seems like the business model is changing for every single game. It seems like most games now are kind of doing like a community-funded kind of incorporation where every tournament and every like big event is, there's some kind of community like support coming into the tournament. So, with the keys and with all the stickers and all that stuff. All that stuff does support the organization and does support us directly. So with Valve keeping up their support, obviously keeping these tournaments coming, and all the stuff I've already talked about, I think those are all very pivotal to, keeping the game going.
So, with that being said, in specific relation to like North America, that's what the show's focused on. We've had ETS, we had Fragdelphia, we had SoCal. We're about to have another SoCal. Tampa canceled, which sucked because I was actually going to be casting that in April, but they canceled and rebooked. But my point is I guess you're starting to see more LANs. And then, of course, you have SIVO coming too right now. You have ESEA still going. Apparently, there's something else called Gaming Grids that's coming into development that announced a $10,000 tournament, which is awesome. We'll see how that goes. People are trying to press... What was that I saw yesterday? That Iron Games thing, did you hear about that? They're doing like a North American tour, and people are trying to vote CSGO in as a game. So we're already starting to see grassroots support for CSGO. What advice would you give to other people, though? Like, what else can we maybe do? Besides, like, I mean, I'm trying my best with the talk show and casting to bring attention to the game on Twitch, but, what else can people do to help support North America, like, specifically? Or is it just the same as what we already talked about?
I mean, to get, like, local LAN tournaments to get bigger, like, maybe recognition or maybe better numbers, I think I will be, I think my team might even go to my team as a whole will go to SoCal LAN. So if there's a tournament near you that you're considering going to, you should definitely go to it. It's definitely an experience. There's that Philadelphia LAN, I think, a couple days ago now.
Yeah, it's like this past weekend.
I think. Yeah. So we need. I mean, there's not really that much more to say about it. We need to keep the support coming. We need the community to keep getting interactive, and we need tournaments to keep coming. I mean, those are the top three things that I can see of help keeping the community growing.
Right on. So now let's transition to the last part before we get into the viewer questions, and that is, what game updates do we need to see? Is there any more updates? I know people still talk about the auto sniper and the P90. Now there's like one-way smoke issues that people have been discussing. Is there any more updates to the game that you feel need to happen at this point? Like, as far as just gameplay and stuff?
I know that there's a lot of talk now about the movement values, and I've been kind of looking at them, and I've been looking at maybe helping them kind of fix something. So movement is definitely something that people are unhappy with still. I don't know exactly what they're saying, but I actually, right after this, I was planning on taking a look at it.
Will people ever be happy with movement? Because it's been edited before, and people still just, like, I feel like when people complain about Go, they have these generalities. They're like, oh, the spraying sucks, reg's terrible, movement's bad. And they're all just very general statements that don't really hold any true value of what you really want to see. And you obviously can't satisfy everyone anyway. So in regards to movement, like, what do you think specifically, if we could, like, get detailed about it, what do you think specifically about movement needs to change?
I personally am not that not happy with movement. I can accept movement as it is now. I think people want it to, like, tighten up a little bit more and stop feeling more like Source, and like the friction is weird, like you're sliding around a little bit still. I think the air accelerator people probably want to be a little bit more as well, so you can kind of have more freedom when you're moving. And I think that does kind of increase the skill set. I mean, look at 1.6. People like, somebody that comes to my head right away is Jordan. Jordan had probably the most insane movement that you could have in 1.6. I mean, he was very good at a map like Train, of going up and down ladders, under the trains, jumping around. He was very good at that. And you can't really do that as much as you could in 1.6 in CSGO. So maybe if they like change the air accelerate, maybe make it less frictiony, so you don't slide around as much, and maybe that could increase the skill set. Maybe that could increase. Maybe more people will be interested in playing it. So
frictiony, new word. Frictiony.
Frictiony.
That's a frictiony. Frictiony, new word. So anything else besides movement that comes to mind?
I mean, I'm pretty happy where it is now. I think the CZ, the new pistol, might be a little bit too overpowered. But on the other hand, you only have 2 clips with
Yeah.
it, so maybe it's okay. I'm not that unhappy with it.
Auto sniper, P90, those.
Auto snipers, the CT auto is still really good, but I mean, you just have to kind of play around it. You can't.
Does it need to change though?
Right. I don't know. I think it's okay. I mean, it's overpowered, but I think people have kind of come to learn to, accept it, and they learn how to play against it. The T auto, I mean, if they just made the CT auto like exactly equivalent to the T auto, nobody would use it because the T auto is like it never hits it. It feels really bad. So I don't really know. I'm not going to talk about the CT auto anymore because it's a
lost cause.
Yeah, I'm done arguing about that. But
okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So other than that, the recoil is good. Now that last update where they made the recoil a lot worse when you move, that was very good. I do like that.
Is it enough though? Because like some of the SMGs are almost exactly the same effect as before the update. Like the P90, for example, was very little changed happened there with movement and recoil control. So
I mean, I don't really care about the MP5s or whatever the submachine gun. I don't care about those. I really don't.
Right.
People don't really use the P90 or anything.
But my question would just be: do you think it was enough? Like, was enough done there?
There was enough done for the M4A4 and the AK-47 that yes, it was enough.
Okay, that's all I need to hear. So the last question before we start talking about you like as a streamer, because I want to talk about that a little bit, is what do you feel about map pool right now? So Cash wasn't used at Katowice. A lot of people were upset about that. Seems like we're seeing the same maps played over and over again at every single tournament. Like Inferno was like the story of one particular LAN, for example, where it was like almost always played. Mirage gets vetoed a lot. People don't like playing Train a whole lot. You have new maps coming out. You have Crown. You have Season. You have supposedly one day before the world ends, Tuscan will come out, and we'll have that too. I mean, what do you think about the map situation?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think more importantly, before I talk about maps, I think now we're in a better position than we were before because for a long time, ESEA used different versions of Mirage and Train than the Europeans did. So it was kind of a bad option to do that. Now that we use the same, it's okay. Now it's good. I think one of the main problems that we have as being in North America is the Europeans are very, very what's the word I'm looking for? They're very set in their ways. They're very strict. They don't change. They will not change. So ESEA introducing a new map like Crown or
Cash.
Even I mean Cash is another one. Even Cash, like Europeans don't adopt change very well. So you introduce a new map, if the Europeans don't like it, they're just not going to play it, and then they'll make us play it, and then we're at a disadvantage. So I think if new maps are going to be created, it needs to be kind of generally accepted in Europe and in America, which if you think about that, it's almost impossible. It'll never happen if somebody doesn't make a stand. But ESEA making a stand is not the way to go. ESEA needs to just do what the Europeans do. I hate to say it, but ESEA doesn't have the they don't have the pull and they don't have the power to kind of force Europeans to play it. Sure, the Europeans will show up to the ESEA league and they'll.
If you look, tell them.
Yeah, well, if you look at NiP, look at NiP playing Season for ESEA. NiP looks terrible on the map. I guarantee you they don't care about Season. I guarantee you they didn't practice it. As a matter of fact, I know that NiP, Get Right said on Anders' stream, Get Right told Anders, that was our first time ever playing Season. They don't care about Season. They don't care about practicing it, So
is it up to this big tournament to just be like, look, this is going to be our map pool. You need to learn it. We need to change the game a little bit, add some spice to it. Here you go. Sorry if you don't like it, but figure it out because it's going to be in the map pool. Does that need to happen? I mean, I don't know.
By who? By ESEA?
No, ESEA already does that. Do other European leagues, like do ESL, Faceit, Fragbite, do these people need to be like, look, we need to add something to the game. We need to add a new element. We need to make things more interesting. New maps can do that because new maps will... Basically, it's an equal playing field at that point because all the teams will be introduced to it around the same time and have to get used to it at the same time. And it will allow maybe more underdog stories to actually be more credible. You know, all kinds of different things can be added because of a new map. Do you think that they need to just step up and be like, let's add something new. Let's add a new element to the game. Or is that just never going to happen?
I mean, maps are a very touchy thing. Maps are very... For you to introduce a new map and say everyone has to play it, it's very... You're running down a slippery slope because all the other maps, I mean, people have been playing for years and years and years.
Yeah, but Valve's doing it. They're making you play a certain version of Mirage. They're making you play a certain version of Train in their big tournaments. So they have that power. Why can't other leagues do it?
Because they don't. The other leagues don't really have the power to do it. Obviously,
okay.
I mean, Valve is running these tournaments.
Does Valve need to step up and put some new maps in, make them official Valve maps or something? And
they can, but talking to them, they're not going to do that. Talking to them, they're not just going to force a map on us like that, unless we're already playing in the league.
But they already did.
And then they're forcing us to play a version of it. They're not forcing us to play the actual map. It's not like they come out with a map. DE mousepad. You have to play DE mousepad the next tournament. If they said that, guess what? All the leagues are going to adopt DE mousepad. So it's definitely a double standard kind of thing where Valve definitely has the ultimate say. If Valve is to say, all right, we're going to announce for DreamHack Summer, it's going to be a $500,000 tournament, and we're introducing DE mousepad and DE monitor, and you have to play it. You know what? I guarantee you 90% of the leagues online would introduce both of those maps. Now, on the other hand, even if ESEA did something like that, well, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Who cares, right?
So, I mean, it's definitely a double standard. It's definitely Valve has probably the most power to do anything, but yeah, it's.
So I think you answered the question right there. It's going to have to be a Valve movement if it's ever going to happen. I think people will accept Tuscan just because it was a classic map from 1.6 and such. So maps like that probably won't have too much trouble being accepted. But new maps like, well, source maps even, like Season and Cash aren't new. They're just like most of the 1.6 crowd didn't play it, obviously, because it wasn't in, 1.6. So, I mean, I thought Cash would be accepted pretty well. They even went through the effort of making an official Valve version of the map that's used on their matchmaking circuit and still got dumped in the end. And maybe that's just because it would have been an odd number of maps at that point. You would have had like 6 instead of 5. So maybe there needs to be like another map to have 7, and then it makes more sense to bring Cash into it if you're Valve. I don't really know. So my point is, would you want to see Valve do something like that, or would you rather not?
I mean, that's a hard question. I think with more maps, if there were more maps, like a lot of the tournaments would be more. A lot of the tournaments would end up playing more maps, so spectators wouldn't see Inferno every best of 3, or like in Poland, Mirage in every best of 3. So I think from a spectator point of view, that probably would be better. It'd be a little bit different, but as a player, I couldn't see them introducing 2 maps. I mean, maybe 1. But
you have to make the vetoes work.
But we have all these odd, odd leagues. Other than, for instance, ESEA uses Season. I guess SIVA uses Season too, but Season hasn't been at a tournament yet. I don't think. Maybe ESEA.
No, I thought it was in the map pool for Fragbite or something.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not really sure, but Season is one, Cash is one. Cash is more played, but even then, Cash wasn't in Poland.
Yep.
So, and then apparently I've heard about Tuscan coming out. Then there's that other source map. It's like Contra. I see people typing
Contra,
that's yeah. So there's a bunch of like maps that are kind of on the sideline that have, might have the potential of getting in the actual map pool, but they're again, they're right on the edge. They haven't really been accepted, and they seem to be more kind of thrown away than they are accepted. So I don't know. I don't know if we just need completely new maps like Crown, or if maybe we're just going to have to suck it up and accept one of those, coattail maps, I'll call them.
Right on. So with that being said, the last official question I really have for you before I open it up to viewer questions and then do the giveaway is tell us about your streaming, man, because you are one of, well, I guess used to be, you're about to be again. I think you have plans to make a big comeback. But you were really, I would say, one of the first pro players to consistently stream. I know Jordan does on occasion. I know what Dren does now. Mo does or at times, though. He catches a course. And then there was Shroud, but when he started, he was more of an amateur player. Now he's pro, but, when he first started, he was amateur, and he was huge, too. But it's kind of a big deal to have a pro player be a consistent streamer, and you were one of the first pro players to do that. Hiko homies, obviously, everybody knows that term. Tell us about it, man. What made you decide to do it? How has it been? Just tell us about it.
I mean, I was big into watching streamers before I even started streaming. I was big into watching like the big streamers like Kriparian, Wreckful is one of my favorite streamers. So I've watched a lot of streams in the past, and it's always been one of those things like, I think maybe I can do this. Maybe I could be successful doing it. And I tried it when I was on Quantic, and it didn't really get successful. And then I decided, all right, I'm going to give it 1 week. I'll try to raise funds to build a new computer. My computer was terrible at the time. I was getting terrible FPS, didn't have a webcam, and I ended up raising enough money to build a computer. And then I kind of went from there, and I was like, okay, well, look, I will start streaming, and I'll see if I can do it. And my stream grew exponentially so fast, and I didn't expect it to grow that fast.
I feel like DreamHack Winter helped a lot. I
think so, too. And I think that if I would have kind of prepared better for like if I would have came in with like a better plan, then it wouldn't I wouldn't have it basically it would have progressed into something probably even bigger than I got it to be. But again, it grew so fast, and people wanted to see, like I kind of tapped into it really early, so I knew what people wanted to see, and yeah, I mean, that's how I got into it.
Yeah.
So we'll end it there.
And I think that your biggest strong suit, obviously besides being a pro player, which is what people want to see, they want to see a pro, is just the level of interaction you have with your viewers is so much higher than most other pro player streamers. Most of them just kind of turn the stream on and they play, and they may answer a question here or there, but a lot of the time they just kind of completely ignore their chat. And that's not to say that all of them do that, because there are some others, like Dren interacts with his chat pretty well. Anger did whenever he was streaming. Daze sometimes does, but most of the time he kind of just plays and has the stream going in the background, so to speak. So it like that, I think, is one of your big keys to persisting success. But what do you think has made you so successful?
I don't know. I mean, if anyone, I know I see a lot of my viewers are here. My mom is very big into my stream. My mom gives me a lot of feedback and pointers.
That's cool.
So one of the things she thinks is I know ever since I started streaming, she's like, she watches other people stream. And my dad watches other people stream.
That's really cool, actually.
And they come back to me with like ideas on what I do good, what I do bad, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. So one of the things that I am told by them is I have a very, as you said, I have a very high level of interaction, and people I have a very good personality. I'm very easy to like, apparently. So, I mean, I'm very soft spoken too. I don't rage. I'm very mellow and I'm very laid back.
You're on one end of the spectrum, and nothing's on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, exactly.
He has his antics. He's hilarious.
You have Jordan sitting there rapping.
Yeah.
Putting his mic down his throat.
And he interacts with his chat really well too. I forgot to mention that, but yeah. So it's it just depends on who you are. There's different ways, I guess. So here's my question then: what does Joe Schmo CSGO caster? What do I have to do to be more successful streamer? What advice would you give to other people to try to get it?
I mean, it's hard. I mean, you have to either establish yourself as a personality, or you have to establish yourself as, you know, a professional player and people are going to watch you for your playing. I mean, those are your two options. They watch you because you're funny, or they watch you because you're good at the game. And not being a pro player, I imagine it's very hard, if not impossible, to get them to watch you because you're good at the game. So, you know, you're kind of left with, okay, well, you have to be good at something. You have to be good at entertaining them. You have to be good at, you know, making them laugh. You have to be good at something. So for me to give you an advice, Dust.
Oh man, here we go.
I mean, it's not you specifically, just like an average Joe Blow streamer.
I'm an average Joe Blow streamer. Heard it here first. Go ahead.
Well,
no, I just go ahead. I know it's cool.
So I mean, you have to make people like you. People have to like you, or they have to like watching you. So if you're one of those people, and you know, I haven't really watched your stream that much, Dust, but if you're one of those people that sit there and just kind of focus on the game, and you don't really add anything, you don't try to make people laugh, you don't really have anything to add, well, you know, unfortunately, that probably won't work. Now, I see people saying No Sleep TV. No Sleep TV is a great example, and I love No Sleep TV. He's one of the very few people that I'm subscribed to. No Sleep TV, yeah, No Sleep TV is great at entertaining his viewers. I love watching him. He makes me laugh so much. Yeah. So, I mean, he's on one side.
I used to not like him at all, but I've grown. Like, he's grown on me.
Yeah. So, I mean, there you go. You have to decide, you know, what you're good at, and you have to kind of exploit that and make people like you using that.
There you go.
There you go. There's my advice to all you other streamers out there.
So now I'm opening up. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's really it.
All right, so I'm opening up chat now to ask questions. I'm going to do this giveaway in a few minutes after I allow some questions to be asked. So I'm opening it up for questions now. Hiko, do you have any shout-outs or anything like that while we open up chat for questions?
Yeah, Sir Scoots, Uncle Scotty. How are you doing, man? I seem to have offended you. I'm sorry.
He's been here a lot.
I know
he was egging me on to rustle more jimmies. He was like, come on, stop holding back type thing. So I want to have him on the show one day, but I feel like it would be like, I don't know what the word would be, repetitive or something, because he literally did a 9-hour AMA on his Twitch. So I feel like if you didn't figure out what you wanted in that 9 hours, I don't know what I would be able to do in an hour and a half to match that. So if you haven't seen that, go click on Sir Scoot's name, and literally he gave you his life story. But somewhere in that 9 hours, you will probably hear what you want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so I'm trying to keep up with chat here. So one question comes in asking, do you think if they would have made Go, I guess, less dominant for Source players that has switched over, or made it, no, okay, so the point is he's saying, do you think if it would have been easier to transition if they would have made the game less stressful on PCs, and would it have expanded better?
I mean, I think, okay, so Source players kind of already had the upper hand of that because they had to have a good computer to play Source, and I guess at the time, if they had a good enough computer to play Source, they probably had a good enough computer to play Go. Now, on the other hand, in 1.6, I mean, you can get, all you needed was 100 FPS. You can get away with pretty much a pretty bad computer, and you can get away with playing 1.6, you know, to your full extent. So, I mean, I think maybe some 1.6 players were kind of turned away, and maybe they didn't transition right away because of that, and they had to build a new computer, and maybe they were kind of they just didn't want to, I guess. I mean, it's more money they have to spend to play a new game, have to buy the game and upgrade a new computer, whereas they could just keep their same computer and just keep playing 1.6 because it still had a community. So I guess the question is, yeah, maybe that did affect it, but in the long run, I mean, I think it's kind of been proven that now, I mean, at least with NiP, the 1.6 players were dominant. I mean, Get and Forrest are probably two of the best Go players in the world. So I think the 1.6 players have now kind of, I don't know if I really want to say that, but the 1.6 players definitely, it seems like in the short run we're a little bit behind, but now it seems like they've kind of caught up and maybe even surpassed most of the source players.
Right. So another question comes in. Let's see here. We already talked about the whole swag situation, so if you missed that, just watch the VOD, and we talked all about it. So somebody asked, do you think that Anger is going to increase the energy and work ethic on your team? What do you think of him as a team member, not in skill, but in personality? It's a good question.
I think with anytime you make a new roster, the work ethic definitely is spiked. Now the question is, can you keep that spike? Can you keep moving on from that spike of, people call it the honeymoon phase, where everyone's happy, everyone's laughing, everyone's having a good time, the energy is high. Now the question is, are we going to be able to use that and keep that going for longer than the first week or the first few days or however long it really lasts for? I hope we can. I have confidence that we can, and I think that with Todd in, our practice will get more serious. And obviously what I mean by that is when we play with Brax, sometimes it got not serious. Sometimes you start running around. And I don't want to blame Brax completely for that, but he was a very big factor into why we did that. As I said, we tried to make Brax at home. We tried to make Brax feel comfortable. And when Brax started to kind of troll, we kind of went along with it and trolled as well. So, yeah, I think we definitely will have probably higher energy now than we did before.
So another question comes in, like what are your thoughts on the op compared to 1.6 in CSS? Do you think that it can still change the tempo of a round, or is it not as useful as it was in the past as far as like a round changing gun, I guess you could say?
I mean, look at somebody like Kenny S, even Skadoodle to an extent. Any of the really top impactful oppers, that kind of answers the question right there. Definitely, if you have a very good opper, I mean, even Sean. Look at some of the runs we've had. We were down like 3v5. Sean gets 3 picks with an op, and then all of a sudden, look, we're back to a 2v3. So, I mean, it probably doesn't have as much as an impact as it did in 1.6. I mean, the movement in Go and probably even Source was a lot different than it is in Go, and there's probably a higher skill ceiling with an op now than there was before, with all the smokes and the flashes and the movement. And so yeah, I think the op definitely can impact rounds more than whoever asked that probably thinks.
So another question came in is, would you support a Valve run online league, kind of like you have with StarCraft 2 with bronze level, silver level, like, ranked matchmaking, I guess you could say, for team play though, so not just queuing with your buds, but actually like team ranked play on the Valve ladder? How do you think that would be pretty cool? Would you participate in such a thing, or what do you think about a Valve run type ranked team play system like that?
I think it would be cool, but I don't think it would really achieve anything. Obviously people would enjoy it for a bit, but then once all the ranks got up, I mean, it would be no different than playing like ESEA. It'd be the same thing. I don't think it would really do that much at all. So I guess it would be cool to see, but I'm not counting on that to revitalize anything. It wouldn't change anything unless somehow all of the United States is now wired by fiber optics and we're now able to play evenly against Europeans. Then maybe that could work. Otherwise, it's not that useful in America.
Right on. So another question came in asking if you had any explanation on what happened in your matchup with LGB and group, or I guess also why you think you lost to NiP on Nuke so badly. So basically just curious about those 2 questions.
Well, LGB has a very Swedish type style of play. They don't show respect to anybody. So they make a lot of plays that actually a lot of American teams do. So, there's a lot of solo pushes, a lot of people catching us off guard. And I don't think we were necessarily prepared for that. Maybe if we had a boot camp, we would have been more prepared, but I don't know. I think they just kind of showed us no respect. They pushed everywhere. It got pretty close. Our Dust 2, for some reason, was pretty bad in Poland. And I don't know if you actually noticed, but when we played Dust 2, we actually switched it up mid-match. Like, we ended up switching something at home without actually trying it. Like, Brax and I were playing A, and then Sean was playing B. And right mid-match, we're like, okay, this isn't working, let's just switch. So we were trying to do things out at a tournament for our first time on Dust 2. So, I mean, that's really all that really happened against LGB.
Right on. So I'm still, like, I got a lot of troll questions, so I'm waiting for, like, a real question to pop up here. Someone asked if my girlfriend was single. I don't think so. Are you single? No. All right. She said no.
Oh, what trolls.
People keep asking about Adderall. What are your thoughts on Adderall in the gaming community? Is this a drug scandal that we need to worry about, like steroids in baseball?
No.
Okay. Well,
I have nothing else to add other than no.
Is this because you use Adderall and you don't want it to
No.
get banned from esports?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
But I know some people probably take Adderall. I mean, some people probably prescribed it. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. If you're abusing it, that's probably not something you should do. But if you are, I mean, if you're prescribed it and you actually need it, then you can't stop somebody from taking it.
So Moxie actually had a question, so shout out to Moxie, who's another CSGO streamer. She said professional competitors in other games, as well as personalities like JP and MLG Ryan and a couple other guys, as well as, like, I think Desro from StarCraft 2 and some other, like, pro players from different games have actually started playing CSGO since EMS went on their streams. And first of all, do you think this is beneficial? Second of all, do you think it would be cool if maybe some of you pro players, like, played alongside them and kind of helped them out? I think at one point, didn't you play with, like, one of the Call of Duty guys?
Yeah, I play with Karma.
So with all that being said, just what do you think about all of this? And
I mean, that might answer the question right there. I love it. I love playing with, like, other big time streamers and other, personalities in CS:GO. I think it's very. I mean, I would love. I mean, the thing is, if they start playing CS:GO, then that increases all of our viewership as well. If I hop on, like, I tried to play with Bjergsen from one of the LOL teams. I don't even know what LOL team he's on, but I was watching his stream and he's like, "Wow, I think I'm gonna play CS:GO," and I'm like, I started to type in his chat, and everyone's like, "Oh, play with Hiko." He ended up not doing it, but I would love to play with some other personalities like that. It's so much fun to me. It increases my viewership. It increases their viewership. They get the viewers from CS:GO. I get some popularity from their little LOL community. So it's a win-win. And if I'm, like, playing with them and trying to make them better, then that only helps everybody. So yes, I do think that would be very beneficial, and I think that would be a lot of fun. So if there's any streamers out here that want to play, send me a message. We can get something happen.
There you go. That's the answer to that. Apparently Huck and stuff like that are playing it too, and a lot of people are. So that's pretty cool. It's always good when more people are playing the game. That's just in general. That's just kind of how it goes. So somebody asked if you want to explain why you lost so badly on Nuke against NiP in the quarterfinals. Any thoughts on that?
I kind of went over that a little bit before.
Oh, somebody re-asked it. I thought you talked about it, but I guess you focused a lot on the LGB, so they were asking about the NiP more specifically, I guess. I don't know.
I talked about it a lot at the beginning, but I'll talk about it again. I think, as I said, if you look back at any of our past teams, any of my past teams, any of our past tournaments, Nuke seems to be like a weak point for us. And we always try to work on it. We always try to come up with new stuff, but for some reason, something happens and our Nuke always seems to fail. So against NiP, I mean, I think on another day we would have changed it up a bit. I think, Sean was getting picked outside a lot. I was getting picked ramp a lot. I think in our best day, we would have kind of, like, maybe given up outside. Sean would not have contested. We would have, like, let them get down secret. We would have, like, turtled more in the sights. So I mean, with all that being said, I mean, we only really got to play CT side. T side, we just lost pistol and lost. So CT side, we just, as I said, we weren't really prepared. We weren't really ready to make the adjustment we needed to make, and it just kind of bit us in the end. There
you go. So somebody actually had a question. This comes in from Brento. Yes, is there any legitimacy to Thorin's theory that American teams just have shitty attitudes, and that's why NA scene is lagging behind the EU scene?
Shitty attitudes towards what? I mean,
I guess
do you
just
mean?
in general. I don't know. Just shitty personalities in general. I don't really know. I remember Thorin talking about this on podcast where he just thought that like
I
there
think
seemed to be
I think
more
I was there
drama
when he
in
asked
between.
it.
There's more drama in between teams in North America apparently than Europe about like not practicing against one another and things like that. So I guess maybe that's what they're referring to. Is that legitimate in your
I mean,
opinion?
I think I'm the one who he asked that to. So I asked that question. I answered the question back then, but I mean, again, the attitudes. For some reason, the attitudes in America do seem a lot worse than in Europe. I mean, people don't practice for a full 30 rounds. I mean, you can see like if you ever watch any European match, if you ever watch any of the professional matches, even when it's like NiP versus like a lower tier team, you never see like the lower tier teams like talking shit or doing anything like disrespectful or immature. Like you just don't see that. But in America, you see that a lot. When people play against us, they're typing to us, they're using their mic, they're doing just things that just is not really warranted and things that we don't want to see. So I guess you can say the attitudes here are worse, and it would be cool if they got better. But I mean, according to Thorin, it's been like this forever in America. So I don't know if we can really change that. I think, the top tier, the people that are kind of on like an international level, maybe, I think we have all kind of toned it down, and I would hope people think that we have like at least a decent attitude. Maybe between, us and iBUYPOWER might not have the greatest attitudes towards each other, but for the most part, I think we're okay. I don't really know though.
So I'm only going to ask a couple more questions because this thing's been lasting a really long time. So sorry if I didn't get to it. You can always catch Hiko on his stream and you can ask him there. Which somebody did ask if you were going to be streaming again anytime soon. Are you going to be streaming anytime soon?
Well, I've been toying with it the past couple of days with the whole like the anger thing and swag thing. I kind of kept myself distance from it so I didn't have to like answer questions and my chat would have been spammed by it.
Yeah.
I think now, and not only that, Diablo 3, the expansion was just released, so I've been playing that. So maybe I'll stream Diablo 3, and if not, then maybe I'll stream CSGO next day, hopefully tomorrow. And if not tomorrow, then maybe Friday.
So there you go. Sometime this week you can catch him, and if I missed your question, you can ask him on his stream. But I'm trying to see here. One of the last questions that I got, and I guess this will be my last one before I do my mouse giveaway, is why do you think that there's only such a tiny pool of elite CSGO players? Because like we were mentioning names, right, for who you and iBUYPOWER could pick up, and of course our list was very limited. And I guess his question is why is this list so limited? Why is there only such a small like group of elite players, so to speak?
I mean, we kind of we hinted on that too. I think there's a problem. There's a big problem with consistency in America. There's a big problem, even this season. Every team has changed their roster. People don't. I mean, as I said before, people don't really like respect their teammates. People don't really respect like the values of a team that you really should have. I mean, I consider my teammates like pretty much like family. I mean, my 4 other guys are pretty much my brothers. We're all family. We're all here for a common goal. We're here, obviously in the long run, you're not really here to make friends. However, once you're together for so long, you kind of mold into that. So I think people need to, kind of respect that. People need to kind of see their team as like a sacred kind of thing, like their family. You can't just cut one of your players when they do bad. If they're a bad player in general, well, then that's kind of your fault for playing with them in the first place. But as I said, like Reliable Gaming, they had a bad showing at ETS, and instead of cutting a player, I would have much rather seen them stick with their same roster and kind of put through it. So there's that. People's attitudes, you know, kind of touching on what Thor's said. The lower tier players have like the really bad attitude towards the game. They're here to play, like, you know, they want to just show up. They want to be the best. They want to prove that they're the best, and they want to really just show up, hop in a team, and the second that they there's hardships, and the second that the team's failing, they're like, oh, you know, I'm too good for this team. I'm gonna leave, and whatever else they want to do. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard for a top team to give a lower tier player a chance, and I think that I don't know if that will ever fix. So.
Right. So here's my question, and this is like reflecting off a final question that I saw in chat that I wanted to ask, and then I'm done. Is, do you think that maybe there needs to be like tournaments that have maybe smaller prize pools but are more geared towards like the common player to help build up competition lower down the scale to try to like help people get to a more competitive level? Like, would that help maybe?
Can you give me an example of what you mean?
Like, let's say Valve ran a tournament for like we were talking about earlier, but they said that in order to compete in this tournament, like this tournament is reserved for said rank to said rank, which I guess isn't a perfect system because people could just smurf accounts or something like that. But just in general, what if you had something like that in a perfect world? I don't know.
No, I don't think that'd be good. Just because there's so many cheaters in like public matchmaking. There's so many problems that occur, like people like randomly lag out and they just leave, and people get banned for 24 hours, and people don't really care in matchmaking. So the general attitude towards like public matchmaking, even matchmaking with a team, would be I just can't see it happening. I can't see matchmaking being taken seriously enough to the point where cheaters are banned fast enough and people's ranks are accurately depicted on what rank they actually are.
So there you go. All right, so that's I don't want to cut the questions here, so I don't want to keep you for too much longer. But any, of course, shout-outs or anything like that you want to get out there? Of course, you got Complexity, a lot of sponsors and stuff like that. So any shout-outs and stuff you want to give before I let you go?
Yeah, sure. I'll give a shout-out to all of our sponsors, Sound Blaster, Cyberpower PC, Newegg, Creative, Twitch, Elite Gaming Motherboards, DX Racer, Scuff Gaming, and our newest sponsor, Ponentware. Also, shout out to all of our fans, everyone that supports us. Shout out to you, Dust, for conducting this interview and the hype. Also, shout out to the Hiko homies. I noticed a lot of names here.
Yeah, definitely.
And also a shout out to my mom, because she will kill me if I don't give her a shout out in every interview.
Well, there you go. All right, well, thank you so much, Hiko, for coming on board, and have a good one, and I'm sure I'll talk to you again soon.
All right, have a good one, and thank you.